today. That was the first impression, and the assumption was it's going to be quiet today, but it was a wrong assumption.
Right.
It started early. It was impossible to get in at 9 o'clock. The impressions on the fair. There is a continuity from the last year. I think the tone and the energy is somewhat more subdued in a way, but at the same time, the attendance of the sessions as well is quite remarkable. Lots of visitors. And the fact that we still continue with the solar, both the manufacturing, the equipment, the smart solutions, hydrogen, energy storage, innovation part, and number of ongoing conferences. The parallelism continues and the focus continues, and that's a good sign going from 25 to 26, right? I think the topics related to the resiliency, the European resiliency, are very important. The topics related to the value chains and synergetic collaboration are also very important. And I think the topic related to the greater conversion and greater understanding of the importance of the DPP topic across the value chain, I think surfaced up, which is an important discovery, I would say. The positive discovery. Why it's a positive one? It means that we can do something about it, because if we don't know that it is an issue, we don't act. But if we do know, we can act upon it.
No, first of all, really, IntSolWeb is today, as Natalie mentioned, very well visited, and it's intense discussions, intense crowd. IntSolWeb is very much dominated by Chinese companies everywhere. Let's say 60, 70, 80%, depending on topic, is Chinese, and therefore the issue of European production is really in the back burner, present everywhere. So I had interesting discussions with quite a few people along the value chain, you know, all the way from producing to distribution and installation of PV. And I think the sentiment that, yes, of course, we are happy that we have Chinese producers who offer modules at low cost. This is very positive, but of course, it's very dangerous to be completely dependent on the situation, and what can we do about it? So I really do believe, and I want to support what Natalie said, that the DPP topic is indeed of great interest.
I think it's a little bit resonates with my first comment related to the subdued tone, at least in day one. I think it is day one of IntSolWeb, so we're not getting into the tough discussions yet. So it's the happiness to meet each other, reconnect, see how things are. I think those discussions come a little bit later in the program, but so far that topic we didn't touch upon in my dialogues up until now. But I think they are coming maybe tomorrow and the day after, for sure.
But really, what one can say, there is a general fear, expectation that the tough rules of the World Trade Organization, which was really the foundation for free trade worldwide, are dissolving as we speak. You know, certain things would have never been mentioned years ago, and now suddenly people say, well, if the United States makes these tariffs at their borders, where do we stand as Europe? And should we accept all the low-cost modules which cannot be sold in the United States anymore, which then make it even more difficult to sell domestically produced modules in Europe because of the lower cost of those imported modules. So I think the sentiment that the tough rules governing free trade worldwide in the last 15, 20 years are dissolving, and of course the current American administration does a great takes part in this development, because what they are doing is really neglecting World Trade Organization rules and really establishing tariff boundaries and really undermining the rules of free trade worldwide?
So I think my discovery today, up until now, was a lot of people are not aware yet. And I think that's something that we can do something about, right? So raising awareness is manageable, but full awareness is not there yet, I would say. In terms of the, but when people do become aware, I think the propensity to do something about it, or actually being on the side of yes, we need to do something about it, is there. And I think the question is how to foster it and how to do the concrete steps in the right direction. So that's a little bit my impression from today and today's conversations. So.
Yeah, I can fully support this. I mean, the timeline of the Domestic Production Portfolio Program, DPP, is really that we have the first half of this year to find the interested parties, but in the second half of this year, these interested parties have to sit down and sign up to really commit to the DPP quotas. And this means, of course, in 2026 to sell 5% of the sales volume from domestically produced modules, 2027 10%. And I think what is going on right now in Brussels will be quite helpful for our initiative, because in Brussels we have a lot of discussion about the rules for public auctions in Europe. And these rules might be initiated very soon, which would stipulate that for public auctions where PV systems are being offered to public buildings and things like that, there can be rules like no slave labor involved, or low CO2 footprint of the modules, so that the off-takers who want to sell PV modules in Europe can see that in these public auctions they have anyway to submit a bid for domestically produced modules, and then it's no problem to find 5% of the sales volume of domestically produced modules. So I'm quite optimistic that actually we succeed in the second half of this year to have enough off-takers to sign up in order to really start this project. And in 2026 we will have to start public relations work to make sure that buyers of PV in Europe are aware of the fact that they should only buy modules from companies who joined the DPP scheme.
And it's a great angle on the market and awareness overall and the public auctions. So as we know, the municipalities and the public sector is the closest to the consumer, right? And then we go into the consumer segment. And I think on the consumer side, probably there should be more awareness.
Yes.
There's a great effort that was done within the past 5 years plus on the energy communities, on the distributed solar, on the the buildings, flexibility of demand, and all of these models. But what we can do at this stage, not only to promote the distributed generation, but also make aware where the technology comes from and what does it mean, what is the spillover effect for the European economy, what is the spillover effect on the European resiliency, and topics of this nature. So once again, going back to the awareness and focusing on additional segments, I would say is the distributed consumers. And maybe even forging, closer relationships with the installers, because it is installers also that need to be aware of that. Not only the big companies that, work on the gigawatt scale installations.
I mean, the big advantage of the DPP scheme is that we don't ask buy European produced modules. We only ask buy modules from companies who honor domestic production by joining the DPP scheme. And therefore I think it should be a quite low barrier to really show, yes, I care for domestic production in the European Union, and therefore I buy my modules from DPP distributors.
And I think this year there's another impression that I have, the made in Germany, made in EU tagline is more and more pronounced, and I think this message is coming much stronger than before.
Yes.
And it's good to see.
Yes.
I can share an opinion, but not within the scope of the discussions, because I did not see anyone or didn't hear anyone suggesting that the market is not strong. Vice versa, all the discussions where market is strong and the demand is there. No one complained that look, we have a slowdown and there is a drop in the uptake. Vice versa, there are companies coming up with the gigawatt scale projects in the territories in the Balkans that we didn't think of before. Yes. So point is, market is there. The education in terms of where it is produced, definitely. Is it public sector? Yes, including the public sector, including the grid operators. Absolutely. As well. Yeah. So we've discussed the non-pricing criteria facilitators. Yes. So grid access is an issue across Europe. So having the grid access for the products that produced in Europe could be a benefit, right? So that's one, and especially the ones that can facilitate the grid operations in a way to avoid, the disasters and the black swans as took place recently as well.
Yeah, and I would like to add that, of course, the awareness is general, that we need as well educated population, educated staff, educated students. Right now, we still do have them, because right now research in solar energy at different places around Germany has been very active. But the big fear is, if we don't succeed in bringing production back into the country, then the research activities, the education of students in this field will decrease, and then we might have not even the basis for this type of renaissance of the solar industry in Europe anymore. So I think the timing now is pretty critical, that in the next 2-3 years we are successful in re-establishing PV production, which will allow as well to continue the research going forward in universities and institutes, as well as the education of high-skilled students in these fields. It's very important.
And there is so much innovation that is taking place.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Related to the agri-PV, yes. Related to the use of the solar cells in the space industry.
Floating PV on water surfaces, indeed. All of these,
So you cannot, state that we've done everything that could have been done. We have a perfect panels. I think it goes on and on and on, not on many levels, on the materials, on the integration.
Yeah, even the basic technology, we are just going from third generation technology to fourth generation technology, which will be tandem cells, where you have two more materials on top of each other, and this allows them to go to efficiency values above what we call the Shockley-Queisser limit, above the 30% number, at low production cost. And this is the current interesting R&D challenge, and I'm very much looking forward that we can continue this very promising research. The last actions out of the science and economic ministry were actually to reduce funding in these very important fields, and we just hope that now we have a new government coming in Germany, that they re-establish the funding sizes which we had before, in order to avoid to find a slowdown of research in this important field.